to Chilango's cooking channel.
Today we're gonna make tacos de bistec and tacos campechanos, which is bistec with chorizo or longaniza. And we're also gonna make the vegan version, which is portobello. I think one of the most challenging things is that often when you are outside of Mexico, you would go for minced meat, but I'm gonna show you a very easy way to use inexpensive meat in order to avoid using minced meat and make some legit street tacos.
With this meat, which is regularly inexpensive, you can slice it. I'm gonna show you two different versions. One is with sous-vide and the other one is just frying on the pan. And then flatten them with a changerizing tool. And this way you can get as legit as possible bistec tacos. And you can even make carne asada tacos with this technique. So let's get to business.
What I'm using here is called round, and you can also use shank. All you gotta do is cut it in smaller pieces, and then I'm gonna cut the fillets against the fibers of the meat. That's very important, you remember. They are about ½ centimeter thick, and don't worry if they're not perfectly even. This is pretty good, and this is about the right size. They don't have to be too big because the ones from the sous-vide, they will soften as they cook, and the other ones we're gonna changerize them. Now you just add a little bit of salt. You could add some pepper, but simply salt, it's fine. Normally in taqueria places, they only use salt. And then we're gonna add butter. This is gonna make it much more rich flavor, and it's gonna make it super good. It really adds to the flavor. And so this one we separate, and I'm just putting in the Ziploc bag, and we're gonna use this Anova sous-vide, and it's gonna cook 52 degrees, so 125.6 Fahrenheit, and it can stay for at least, I would say, 3 hours, but it can even stay longer. However, I know not everybody has one of these ones, so we're also gonna go through the process of how to cook this without the sous-vide. So let's move on. So let's changerize the meat. You place the piece of meat on top of a board, and then you cover it with baking paper, or you can use plastic as well. And then with the flattened area, you're gonna sideways, applying some force, spread the meat evenly. As you can see, I'm going kind of in circles, and then just the force doesn't go straight downwards to the table, but it goes a little bit sideways. And I switch from one side to the other. Look at this, it's already getting much flatter. So as I said, you're not hitting downwards, you're spreading gently. And now we're almost done, so we're gonna use the spikes to break the fibers of the meat. And again, don't need to hit it too hard. You just press and kind of like gently but firmly, so that you don't break the steak, and it's even and it's pretty flat, and it looks, in my opinion, really good to work with. So we can move on to the vegetarian. So I cut my portobellos in big chunks, and then I'm just making small cuts so that the marinade will penetrate, and it's gonna be much more full of flavor. I'm gonna proceed now to cut some garlic. So you chop the garlic very finely, and as you can see, I changed the container. You need to make sure it's a big container where you can fit the mushrooms basically as flat as possible, so that the marinade will spread and touch all of them. And now we're gonna add a little bit of salt. We're gonna use soy sauce, so don't put too much salt, just put a little bit. Now here we have some black pepper. Also, don't go too crazy on it, just a little bit. There's a lot of flavors coming. Here's the soy sauce, just pretty basic one. We spread it very gently all over. And here is some balsamic vinegar. We also add it to the marinade, and then we're gonna also add some olive oil, and just make sure that they're all nicely swimming in the marinade. Actually, I'm gonna make sure now that they're all touching the marinade. You can make this preparation even the day before, and make sure that when you prepare this, nothing that has touched meat touches the mushrooms. This is not only important for hygiene, but a lot of our vegan and vegetarian friends will appreciate greatly. So we're gonna make a super simple salsa. There's 100 ways to make salsa. This time it's gonna be only jalapeno and árbol chilies, coriander, garlic, salt, no onion, and tomatillo. We put the chilies to boil in water, and we're also gonna add the garlics. If you would be using fresh tomatillos, then you would be putting the tomatillos also to boil here, but in this case these ones are canned. So then we skip that and we proceed just to boil the chilies, the garlics, and now we strain them. Don't save the water because the water is gonna be a little bit bitter. We're gonna just put all the ingredients in the blender, and then of course take off the tails from the chilies, and if you don't want it to be too spicy you could take off the seeds, but I like it spicy. Then the fresh coriander and the salt. There's the tomatillos on the bottom, and we simply proceed to blend everything, and that's gonna be it. This salsa is really easy and fast. It literally took 5 minutes to boil the ingredients and 1 minute to blend. This salsa is ready, fresh and spicy. Look at that color, amazing. Alright, let's move on to cooking the meat. So I put a little bit of butter with oil. Then you just put the steaks that we flatten. The other ones are cooking in the sous-vide. And just add salt. So it's exactly the same ingredients, just different process. So these are ready. I'm gonna take them away from the pan. If you would do this in a restaurant, you could also use a parrilla, like a flat parrilla, and then just chop them and serve them. But I'm gonna put them aside, and now we're gonna proceed to chop everything. So I'm using just chorizo. You could use longaniza, and you can also make your own longaniza, but this time we have to keep it simple. So any chorizo from the supermarket will do. Now let's move on to our meat that we cooked with the sous-vide. Look at this. Oh my god, so full of flavor. It's a bit greasy, but it's just great. Now let's move this aside. So you can see how I'm gonna cut it in slices, basically like fajitas. And you could just leave it in slices, but I want it to look like a legit real taco, like from a street taqueria. So in this case we're gonna cut it in little cubes. So now we put the stripes like this, and we gently cut the meat in small cubes, just like this. And it's medium, so perfect. Now we're gonna cut the meat we cooked in by changerizing it. So as you can see, it's a little bit more tough, and then with this one, then you have to make sure that the pieces of meat are much smaller, because even though we changerize it, it is gonna be a little bit more tough to bite, so you need to make sure it's really small. Now then again, when I mean tough, it's just slightly, it's not gonna be hard. Like this is, once I had the end result, it was definitely the right texture. And now we proceed to give it a quick cook. So in all the fat and the juices that we kept, we give it just a very quick cook to the meat, so that it's gonna be nice and steamy. In the moment we're gonna serve it on our tacos. Oh my god, look at this. I mean, I can tell you, this is the smells that are coming from this are just incredible. And it's simply meat, salt, and then a little bit of butter. And now we're gonna put the meat that we cooked from the sous-vide. This one I'm not gonna cook it all the way. I'm just gonna give it a quick cook all over. And then we also have to cook very good the chorizo or the longaniza for those campechanos. Perfect. On another pan, separately obviously, we will cook the mushrooms. And these ones, just make sure not to overcook them too much, so they don't shrink too much. These are perfect. Then we warm up the tortillas. You can warm them up with a little bit of fat, so it's gonna be even more legit, like in an authentic taqueria. And I'm using the smaller version of tortillas because we're gonna make tiny tacos. I'm gonna use guacamole. Do you remember the guacamole we made in previous recipes? The one that we called smooth guacamole? I will add in the description the video so you can check on that one. And then we proceed to gently place a few pieces of mushrooms for the vegan version, which I'm assembling first, and then we're gonna proceed with the meat version. So in this case, I'm just trying to place them nicely so we can present the dish in a more interesting way. And I'm using double tortilla because I really want them to be as legit as possible, the real street experience. So we put a little bit of salsa, and then the very classic toppings. You see the limes on the side, the coriander, and the onions. And these are vegan Portobello street tacos.
One. You could use other mushrooms as well. Portobello, I think it's a very nice mushroom, has a very delicate flavor. I know I'm gonna like the meat ones, but this puts already the bar very high. This is great.
Alright, so let's assemble our beef tacos. So, oh wait, first we're gonna put the guacamole on the bottom. This is gonna add flavor, color, it's gonna make them more badass and amazing. Here comes the beef that we cooked just without the sous-vide. And then here is the beef that we cooked in the sous-vide. And then I'm adding some chorizo to make them campechanos. Look at this. This looks like it just came from any street taqueria. And then we're putting this delicious salsa and the classic toppings. We have here the limes, the onions, and for the final touch, the coriander, of course. Look at this. It's just Mexico, a Mexican street taqueria experience.
It's the simplicity. You don't need so much. Just the salt and the butter in this case. It's so rich, so rich. And well, it's not dry, but the one on the sous-vide, I'm pretty sure this one allows us to not necessarily cook it all the way. And I'm pretty sure it's gonna be a bit more juicy. Making the smaller tacos is nice also. Then you can eat more. And that was the bistec tacos. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. And as you can see, the sous-vide technique makes it much more easier. And when you cook with sous-vide, it actually kind of softens the meat, and you lose way less volume from the meat when the cooking process. So there's a lot of pros, especially if you are making these tacos in a restaurant level or for like a restaurant for your menu. I do think you should get a hand of one of those beautiful machines, because you lose less volume on the cooking process. Your meat's gonna be juicier, it's gonna be much more tender, and it's actually easy because if you plan your times, you can let them cooking for a little while you do other stuff. But even if you're at home as well, you just put the machine to cook the beef for a little while. Meanwhile, you chop this, you do that, you go watch TV or whatever, and then bam, you have tender and delicious bistec tacos. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment, send me pictures, send me videos, send me cheers. See you next time.